All right, everyone, and hello. And welcome back to our 20th anniversary Monster Hunter Countdown. Up next, number 188, Bishaten. First appeared in Monster Hunter Rise. We can count him as a primate, I think. He's a monkey. So, hey. You're going to have to hold me to it. I said I wanted more bugs and monkeys, so we're going to go with him. Armor and weapon set wise, for progression, if you're playing with other people, this one is probably okay. It's got wide range. It's got speed eating. That's something. It's got a sword and shield. I was always a little bit off. There's so many people that are like, oh, you got to use sword and shield to support people. Can you use items while you've got your weapon out? Well, you can always sheath your weapon. There's no law saying you gotta heal with your weapon out. Hunting Horn doesn't take long to sheath. Dual blades don't. Whatever. Weapons, there's really nothing super special about them. The Switch Axe was kind of okay for progression, but it had Dragonfly, so it was nice early on just to get it charged up quick, but kind of wore off in terms of usefulness. Weakness-wise, the head, the tail, ice. Pretty much it. I mean, of all the hit zones we've looked at in terms of like modern Rise monsters, he's got like nothing. There's like nothing going on here. As for statuses, he doesn't take much poison damage. He will drop little poison fruits that you can throw at him, but kind of a waste of time. I mean, paralysis is okay. Sleep is okay. Stun is pretty good, I guess. I mean, that looks like that's maybe slightly better than average, but nothing incredibly crazy. He's not like a Gyarados. So the fight itself is pretty fun. It is. He's got an actual roar, so that's good. He will periodically pull out fruits or do various maneuvers with his tail, which, if it's been a while since you fought him, it can sometimes be, a little bit tricky to figure out what he's going to do. So that's kind of fun. This move here is really fun. He throws a little stun fruit into his tail, and then he slams it into the ground. It's neat. He is really neat, but, as I was editing this video, I begun to think, I think there's a little bit of a thing that you might call, like, Rise Syndrome. And this applies to the monsters specifically, and I think what it is they were designing Rampage from very early on. And you have to imagine that those design documents for Rampage was like, we need to make sure that we have a lot of different type of monsters that can fill out this zone, that we could just flood the zone with them. Now, you're not going to want to have, I don't even know what the maximum number is, but let's say 15 Shigarus filling up the zone, because that's going to be maybe a bit too much for the players to handle. So I feel like for base Rise, they designed a lot of low tier and like lower middle tier monsters that weren't going to be exceptionally powerful, but that you could create, maybe say a dozen or so of them and fill a zone with them, and then players would be able to handle them in some way. I feel like Bishaten kind of goes into there because, once you've beaten him, it feels kind of rare for you to ever actually use his gear. Another interesting thing is, depending on the game, in a lot of situations, you had way more of a branching weapon tree. Rise doesn't really have incredibly branching weapon trees. It will sometimes for like a subspecies, but pretty much once you get from like, ore or Chimera or bone, you're pretty much locked into the monster you're going to be fighting the entire time in order to upgrade it the whole way. So I want to talk a little bit more about Bishaten. I just wanted to point out that, like, hopefully somewhere along the line, in the same way that maybe they would go back and reflect on what would have been a modular weapon design for Monster Hunter World, where we had a lot of weapons that were like, a monster's nutsack slapped onto a iron weapon or a bone weapon. And they're like, we should probably not do that again. It feels like there's just like such a large variety of these types of monsters in Rise Hopefully that we don't end up with that again, you know? You just go through it in your brain real quick. I mean, you'll realize, you know, you've got Azuchi, Arzuros, Great Baggy, Great Roggy, you know, Bishaten, Royal Ludroth. I mean, it's just like, there's like so many of these basic tier monsters in what was essentially a brand new game. I'm not saying you shouldn't have like an easy way to like ease players on into the game. And I certainly appreciate them having a wide cast. I'm just thinking maybe, you know, maybe stack the back deck a little bit more. And I think Sunbreak did do a pretty good job at that. And obviously with Sunbreak, afflicted levels, you know, if you're to have a 300 level Lagambi, turn him into a big ball Lagambi, he'll be at least a little bit of a challenge, I suppose. So Bishaten himself, fun fight. You know, if it's been a while since you fought him, he will definitely catch you off guard with some of his moves. Some of them come out pretty quickly, pretty unexpectedly. I do wish his gear was a little bit better. I don't really remember using anything of his. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I used Blood Orange's arms quite a bit, just because 3 points of latent power was like okay. Especially with like Dereliction, where your health was constantly getting sucked out. It would trigger pretty often. So fun to see Shoryuken, or Shoryugeki, whatever that's called. whatever the counter uppercut is, man. There is some fun switch skills in this game. Some of the counter skills are balanced and very fun. And that is definitely one of them. And Bishaten, you are okay. I would be happy to see you come back someday, as long as you had an evil version that we could fight later on that was incredibly strong. Okay, Bishaten Heavy Horn. The horn of a Bishaten. The longer the horn, the higher the rank the beast holds. Bishaten Fine Fur. The finest Bishaten fur. It gives off the faint scent of persimmon. Oh, that's nice. Makes you think maybe the Bishaten smells kind of good. He's covered in all sorts of fruit juices. That's delicious. Well, thank you, Bishaten. You are a juicy monster. May the long line of bugs and monkeys continue. Up next, number 187. It's a rare monster. It's only in 2 games. 187 Baleful Giganox. Pretty fun. Look forward to that. Again, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.